All right. Hello, Plus Me family. Welcome back to our Feature Friday segment for Our Stories Matter. My name is Bethany Epiphany, and I'm the program manager with the Plus Me Project. This week, the journal activities focused on struggles and identifying the different challenges and obstacles that you have faced and have overcome. For our interview this Friday, we have Ysabelle Inigo. Ysabelle is a facilitator with Plus Me and has graciously accepted the invitation to share parts of her journey that pertain to her struggles. So please welcome Ysabelle. Hello, Ysabelle.
Hi, nice to be here in the space.
Thank you for deciding to hop on here and be our Feature Friday interviewee. I appreciate this time to dive into your parts of your story.
I'm happy to be here and safe at home.
Say exactly. Safe at home. All right, so we're gonna dive right into it. So the first question I have is, talk about a struggle you had either as a teenager or as an adult.
Okay, so I think I had it was a struggle. You know how they say it's a struggle.
Mhm.
That kind of is the epitome of me growing up. I felt like it was a struggle, only because I just felt like the biggest struggle was being myself. You know, people always say, just be yourself. And I was like, what does that mean? Like, I
Mhm.
don't know how to be myself because I was always trying to fit in. And so that was the biggest thing for me growing up, you know, being raised in Orange County, where I was like one of the only brown people I knew for a while. Um, just being around people that I wanted to be like, but like trying to be myself at the same time. That continued on. You know, it was planted when I was younger, and then it continued on as I went through high school, and then even as an adult. You know, I finally learned how to be myself, but it took a while. You know, the struggle of learning to be myself, not trying to always fit in, and just embracing being different. Yeah, that was the struggle.
Yeah, and I appreciate that answer because I feel like so many people, especially our young people that are watching, can connect with that. And when you talked about, someone saying to you, just be yourself, and it can be hard to do that if you're still evolving and understanding who you are and not really knowing that to be yourself means to just be, no airs, no facades, and to feel comfortable with that. And I think that's a journey that most people take a while to get to. So I can definitely relate to that. Was there a struggle that brought the most shame? If so, how did you move past it?
Struggle, the most shame. Um, I mean, obviously coming with the whole, you know, trying to be myself is that's the shameful part because you know, I in school I didn't really want to be proud of like myself as like my cultural identity back then. It was like I don't want to talk about it. It's weird. Let's just pretend that I'm not Filipino or things like that. And then that in itself kind of was deeply rooted in myself and went with my interactions with people and how I moved about in high school was um, very like closed off and trying to be something else. And so that led to me kind of going into therapy. And I think even that kind of brought in more shame of like, you know, feeling like I'm different and trying to embrace that part of me. So just in general of like having struggles, I think there's a part of shame that like comes with that, you know, not wanting to talk about it. And so I hope that kind of gave.
Yeah. No, it definitely did. It definitely did. And when you talk about, being the only person of color,
Mhm.
in this environment where no one else looks like you and how that can bring shame because you are internalizing maybe a
Yeah,
certain level of
the word.
racial prejudice and things like that, and how that shapes your outlook. And you mentioned something else about how, you know, with struggles,
Mm-hmm.
well, and you mentioned therapy, and I
Mm-hmm.
just want to point out how important therapy is and how,
Yeah,
there was a time when it was taboo. And now it's kind of
absolutely.
like something that people accept now, but there's still shame attached to it, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm the crazy one, I'm odd, I need
Absolutely.
help and everything like that when we all need help, right?
Yeah, I remember actually being in therapy, and the first, like, I would always just be like, I don't need to be here, or like, I don't need this. Like, this is, and kind of just like minimizing our struggles is something that I think a lot of us, or like me personally, like I would do, like I would think, like, oh, I had this fascination or fantasy about like rags to riches stories, and I was like, oh, like I'm not like them, like they had so much struggle, and then so I would just completely erase like any sort of trauma or like struggle of myself. I would just be like, oh, it's not that bad, like my
Hmm.
struggle is not like this person, so I shouldn't even say anything, like I shouldn't feel bad. But I mean, we all struggle in different ways, and I think even being in like kind of group therapy more, and so like as I grew older, or as I moved into more therapy, it was like interesting to see that like everyone just has different struggles. And now as like an adult, I have friends that go like tell me that they have a therapist, and I'm like, that's great. And they're like, no, seriously, it's great. And like it's so funny, or not funny, but like it's awesome how like we're beginning to open up more about like our mental health, and just like how anyone could actually relate or need, like could use a therapist, not like anyone, it's literally,
Right,
to be able to
exactly.
talk about these things openly, and have another person that can like kind of give you perspective. It's definitely neat, not not taboo to me, at least. Like it's definitely needed, and or could be.
It is. And I think everyone needs a sounding board, everyone. We could all use that extra voice that provides that outside perspective. And so
Mhm.
I'm so happy that we're in an era where mental health is becoming a priority, and it's
Mhm.
no longer being that hush word that we're afraid to use now. So I appreciate your answers for that. Um, where or who do you go to for encouragement during tough times?
Hmm. So, two-part answer to that, because when I was growing up, I didn't really feel like I could go to anyone. And so I kind of just like wrote it all down. That was like my thing. I would like journal it and write. And it almost didn't feel like at the time that it was helping, because I was like, oh, no one understands me. And then like I had a therapist, and I was like, no, you don't understand me either. And then my friends, you don't understand me. Your parents, you don't understand me. So I wrote a lot. And then as I grew older and like grew into like a more comfortable space, I started to realize it's like how important it is to have people that you trust, or people that you support. It's both ways. Like for me, since I like with the struggles, like it's been like myself, I was there for me. And so like that's where I would go to. But now it's like it's amazing to have built like a system of support and like friends who I feel like I can trust. And like even so with my parents now, like I feel like I can trust, like to build that kind of support, and to know that that kind of support is there when you need it is truly so important to me. But at the same time, it's like at the end of the day also yourself. Like I think that I'm kind of like my own sounding board. I still go back to writing, just understanding yourself the most, and then knowing you have those people around you that you can count on when things get rough, because you can't always just be by yourself.
Right, exactly. No person is an island, and I think so many of our young people feel as though they can't go to anyone, right? And maybe that is valid, but the fact that you were able to write your emotions down, and in the previous weeks we talked about settings, and that was an activity that um,
Mhm.
our Stories Matters tribe did, and I feel like your journal could have been that impactful space or place that you went to let your emotions out. And
Mhm.
in addition to building or making sure that you have a good tribe around you, because
Yeah.
I mean, it means a lot, and you can't navigate through life by yourself all the time, and you're going to need some people around you for sure.
Yeah. Just one little thing on that too. It's interesting because the people that you surround yourself with is kind of like a reflection of yourself. So if you like, I've noticed this with myself, it's like when I was feeling like really low and stuff, like I either didn't have anyone around or the people around me weren't really helping to like lift me up. And so, I mean, you know how they say like your vibe attracts your tribe or like anything like that. It's like, it's true. It's like first you and then also the people around you. So it's like, you gotta inside out, or also just like check yourself, check your environment, you know. It really makes a difference, and once you raise that kind of like vibration, I think that more good things and more good people kind of start to surround you. So
I think so too. It piggybacks off of this older saying, which is, birds of a feather flock
yeah.
together.
All that.
And all that, and it's so true. And I really want
Mhm.
the young people who are going to be looking at this to hear your story and to just, really take note of who is around them, and
Yeah.
what are they contributing? Are they contributing to the toxicity of that group as well? So I hope you guys are listening.
It's hard. It really is. But like to even start thinking about that is like the first step, you know, because
Right.
when I was younger, it just kind of flew over my head if anyone tried to say that to me. But I mean, to
Mhm.
even think about it, like really makes you know, you start to wonder about
Ex-
what you're
right.
creating.
If we can plant seeds, then
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
what's up. Last question. How have your struggles made you better?
Ooh, all of it. Struggles, I just always think of how, you know, I think of yin and yang and like how you can't have dark or you can't have light without darkness, like those kinds of things. um it's just resiliency and like building strength. I don't even think like you don't really see it when you're struggling, you know, like, oh, like I'm going through all this stuff to like be better. But can you hear me? Went a little
Yeah.
frozen. Okay. Okay. Sorry about that. Um, yeah, well, what I was saying is just how they made me better. I mean, everything's a lesson. And in the moment of struggling, it's so hard and it seems like it's never going to end. But then when you look back on struggles, it's like, wow, you see how far you've come. And you know, the lessons just are exponential. I mean, I embrace the struggle. Like I always say that is even when like like struggling, it's like so much easier to just kind of be in the moment of that because I know that it will pass. And so yeah, it's just the lessons really. Like struggles have brought me to where I am right now. And you know, I know that they're not always gonna be there, and I also know that like there will be those times, but you just keep going. It's like the strength that you get from that.
Right. You use the word resiliency, and I think that's what struggles do, right? They make you stronger.
Mhm.
They make you more equipped to navigate this crazy world that we live in, and all the lessons that you gain as a result. If you went through life with no struggles, like
Yeah,
what would
boring.
you have? It's boring. Number one, it's
Yeah.
boring, and it's like you're not as seasoned, right? Because you don't
Mhm.
have as much know-how, right? And I think with struggle comes enlightenment. So it can be hard to understand that while you're in the trenches and you're like
Mhm.
everything just feels like a dark cloud.
Very-
But there is a light for sure. There is definitely a light. And
Absolutely. I like I said, I embrace the struggle now. I mean, it will pass. Like I love that saying. I like to remind myself that whenever something comes up for me because it will pass. And then you will, and I like to remind myself that too, like, you'll remember this as like a time, will just almost be like a laugh, or like a like or however you're going to look back on it, you will look back on it in a different way soon come. So just having that kind of hope.
Exactly. And I think that's the perfect way to end it, with a little bit of hope. And I
Yeah.
know that everyone in our Stories Matters tribe, as we're going through this historic time in our world, and I know that there are multiple struggles that we're all dealing with and facing with. But as Ysabelle pointed out, the idea that we will get through it, and that as we get through this, as we're walking through the struggle of this pandemic, that there's a lot that we're learning, whether it's to be grateful for each and every moment, and talk and connect with your loved ones, whether it's to really fulfill those goals that you have set for yourself. Now is the time to really sit back and learn as much as you can, and develop and grow as much as you can. So I want to thank Ysabelle for sharing and for being vulnerable and opening up. And I want to thank the Our Stories Matter tribe for tuning in. Please check back next Friday for our next interview. It will be about accomplishments. I will see you all later. Bye, Plus Me family.
Bye.